So this is a Calira EVS 2030, and it's with automatic D plus Erkennung, which is recognition, so it switches over when it takes the charging signal from the alternator. And symptom with this one is it isn't charging the engine battery. So the engine battery charging light isn't coming on. So we suspect that one of the charging circuits has failed. 8 screws to get the top off, and a quick look inside. When plugged in, there's quite a lot of buzzing from down here around. It sounds like this transformer. So we've got to suspect this guy. Big capacitor here, top's slightly domed. Often a sign that the capacitors are packing up. And also these two here, the tops of these two are very badly distorted. Don't see if you see those. They're 4,700 microfarad, and this is 150 microfarad, 400 volts. So we'll get it further apart. So if we have a quick look at the circuit diagram, this is the first big beefy capacitor with the domed top, C10, 150 microfarad, 400 volt. And what this is doing is smoothing the rectified output of the mains. So you've got the 240 volt mains coming in through here, through a full wave bridge rectifier and a choke, and this is the smoothing capacitor. So 400 volts, I'm going to replace it with a 450 volt tolerance, because that's maybe a little bit low. And then looking at the other two, they are here, C37 and C41. These are 4,700 microfarads. This C36 isn't connected. And what these are doing is smoothing the outputs that feed the two charging circuits for the leisure and engine batteries. So again, these are pretty significant. 2 screws underneath, and the rear connection panel, which is a relay and a circuit breaker on it, comes off. Not too bad, but I will give this a bit of wash with some IPA, isopropyl alcohol. Get the some of that residue off, just to clean it up. I'm taking the screws off the end of the heatsink and both ends, and there's a couple of screws underneath, and then the circuit board appears to be held in just with these little plastic pillars. So squeeze those with there's 5 of them. Squeeze those with a pair of long nose pliers, and to push the tab in, and the circuit board will lift off. So with it out and on the bench, there are a couple of measurements we can take. There's a couple of transformers here which have 12 volts. They're 240 volt down to 12 volt transformers, and they've got a couple of bridge rectifiers, surface mount ones, one there and one here. And this one is then passing through this 12 volt. It's a 7812 12 volt regulator. So with simple tools we can measure those, see what's going on. So with it plugged in, you can hopefully hear the buzzing, which definitely sounds like it's coming from that transformer there. I can't hold the camera and meter at the same time, but I'm getting a decent 12 volts off this regulator, which means that it's likely to power all of this circuitry over here, which is I think that's a PIC microcontroller, which runs and there's a kind of voltage divider chain down here, and this is running the sort of voltage sensing and charge circuit. So all of that side looks okay. Well, it's being powered at least, which is a good sign. It's not easy to get the capacitors out because they're onto pretty big tracks. So I've got a solder rework station. I've got that up to 300 centigrade with a very fine nozzle on it, and that shifted them. Difficult to do with an ordinary soldering iron unless you've got one with a lot of heat and a big beefy tip. Got these two out, and they are blown at both ends. Look at them, bulging out of both ends. So after getting those out, need to clean those up because the solder's splattered around a bit. So I'll get some heat on those and a solder sucker and clean those up a bit. Right, I've had a clean round with some IPA, isopropyl alcohol. It's all looking nice and clean, and it's time to fit the new components. These are electrolytic capacitors, so polarity important. It's marked on the board there with the plus signs, and the caps themselves have a stripe down the negative side, so easy to know which way in they go. Right, so caps fitted, plugged it back in, buzzing has stopped, which is a very good sign. So these replacements are physically bigger than the other ones that I took out, but they've got the same hole spacing, they fit fine. So, moment of truth, all plugged back in, back where it belongs, in this Knaus Sun TI, and yay, both circuits are now charging. And if I push those, we're getting full charge into both the leisure and the engine batteries. So replacing those capacitors, fixed it for a few quid.